Good morning from the second age of reason. We are here to talk about the recent elections in Wisconsin. I happen to live in Wisconsin, where that Governor Walker is. I happen to live in the county where he was county exec. I'm also living in the district where Paul Ryan is in Congress, and he comes up with these ideas about the budget and budget cuts. And so I just like to talk about the election a little bit, because it seems to me to be a little bit strange that the election was going pretty good. Milwaukee County Supervisor was pretty clear cut, like 60 to 40%, and so that one was clear. But when I saw that the Supreme Court judge was a very close race, it was like neck and neck, 100, 200, 300 votes apart. People were saying, well, that's pretty much for sure a good idea for a recount. Well, as it went by, it was very interesting because, okay, the election was over, it looks like the Democrat won, and then a day after the election, somebody says, oh, I have a bunch of votes in my laptop. I forgot to upload them. And it happened to be a Republican. 14,000 votes, a whole city's worth, on the laptop, off of the state election network. Seems a little strange to me. Not to mention that this person used to be the employee of that judge. And as to the validity of the votes, it'll have to be decided by a judge. So it all seems kind of odd, I thought. Some people have said, well, they better recount those votes. I think they better follow the path where they were, because to me, if they were taken out of the network, that they are then tainted votes. Sure, count them up and see how they tally, but I'd almost say they need to be redone. Somebody else mentioned the fact that maybe that's just a ruse, a decoy to get your attention on it. So you're looking at that particular case. And as a matter of fact, they said, oh sure, we'll have that city recounted. We'll even have that county recounted. But not the whole state. So that to me, if they're saying just look at the county only and not the whole state, that to me is this thing that say, let's count the whole state and audit it. Because sometimes those things are a decoy to get your attention looking in that direction while something else is going on. Sleight of hand, that sort of thing. I'd say either way, it's worth counting them all counties, all cities, all areas in this election. Seems funny that it was going one way, and then suddenly at the last minute, well, actually a day after the election, a bunch more votes just suddenly pop up out of the blue. And some had mentioned maybe the votes for that city were counted twice, because the county was a little unclear about how they stored the data. Because maybe it was stored with a county code on it, and then counted once, and then coming back, and then counting twice. So I just thought I'd mention that, and I hope that they do count all the votes again, and let's see how the story pans out, because I'm sure it's going to be very, very interesting. Until later, be seeing you. Good morning from the second age of reason. We're here to finally herald in the end of the Wisconsin election. The election took place months ago, but the results haven't been finalized until now. Because one of the races for Supreme Court was so close, it had to have a recount. Just to sum it up briefly, what happened was the election was very, very close between the Supreme Court people, and it was within like 100 votes, plus or minus a little bit, and so you knew no matter what it would be a recount of some kind, just to verify. So the next step that happened is the election was over. It looked like the Democrat had won. It did, by a few hundred votes. So there'd be a recount, of course, and as they were putting everything aside and cleaning up. A day or two later, one of the Republican election commissioners said, "Oh, on my thumb drive here, I have some more votes." So, their thumb drive or their laptop, however it was, they threw those votes in, and suddenly there were 7,000 more votes for the Republican candidate. It was still under a half of a percentage point range, even though it was a few thousand votes this time, and so they still had a recount. And finally, the Democrat had to concede that it was such and so. As a result of all these things going on in Wisconsin, with the Governor Walker, with the Supreme Court race, and with the laws that are getting passed, there's been a recall petitions going around in all the areas for all the various candidates and representatives. And so it's getting people worried. They're going to have recall elections because it seemed as though they won by sleight of hand. Even the governor, I had heard people who were in unions say that the union had told them to vote for Walker because he was for unions. Personally, I couldn't have thought of a better lie, but a lot of them fell for it. Not all of them, but many of them. And so he has been elected. So now we have this scenario of recalls coming in. And the thing to keep in mind is that the Republicans have been coming up with their own strategies to thwart the recalls. This one is a winner, indeed. The Republicans have decided to field fake Democrats into the election, so that even if the Democrat wins, he's actually a Republican and will vote for the Republicans. Now that is rich. If they do that, and people aren't wise to that, I don't know. It seems like democracy is lost, or pretty much meaningless. Again, maybe they voted for Republicans because they were fed up with the system. The Democrats weren't all that great either. And I mean, the governors, just think of the nicknames they get. Like right now, you've got Scotty Schicklgruber Walker, and the prior governor was Diamond Jim Doyle. So, with names like that, you know they're all beholden to the corporate interests. So, I just thought I'd give you an update. The election has been decided. The recount is over. The Republicans are still in. And now we're looking forward to a summer of recall elections. So until later, be seeing you.
And there is only one direction and one state that I'm in.